The hard truth about becoming a real estate agent and ultimately succeeding at it. Whether you're brand new to the real estate industry or exploring it as a potential option, it's important to know what it ultimately takes to succeed in this industry. And in this video, I'm going to break down what some of those key things are. That way you're more prepared to take that next step forward on the journey if it's what you decide that you want to do. My name is Tyler Roicki. I help people build income and wealth in real estate, and I run an international real estate team at eXp Realty. If you get any value whatsoever out of this video, all I'd ask is that you like, comment, and hit that subscribe button so that I can continue to share more tips and resources with you in the time ahead. Also, if there's anything I can possibly do to help you now or in the future, go ahead and reach out to me. You'll find my email along with some other helpful resources for you in the description below. And with that in mind, let's dive into the video. For many people, the real estate industry is such an appealing one to get into because it offers true freedom and autonomy to work the hours you want and ultimately become your own boss. And while on the surface that may sound sexy and have a certain appeal to it, I mean, who doesn't want more freedom and control over their own life, right? The reality of that situation is that for most people, that actually works in their detriment rather than in their favor. Because being a business owner doesn't actually mean that you don't have a boss. It means that you're the boss and you need to hold yourself accountable because now you don't have someone looking over your shoulders holding you accountable. So if you don't do that yourself, and if you don't have a higher standard for yourself than a boss could ever have for you, then reality is you're probably not going to get the key things that you need done and have a organized and disciplined way in which you're going about things. There are 3 hard truths about becoming a real estate agent and truly building an income in life in this industry. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to break down what each of those 3 hard truths are. That way you have the information you need to have the proper expectation going into the industry and ultimately decide if this is where you truly want to be. The first hard truth is that your inputs equal your outputs. Real estate is truly an industry where you get out what you put in. And that may or may not sound obvious to you, but very few people, based on their actions, actually know that this is the reality of the situation. Instead, what I see happening far more frequently is that there are a lot of people that go out and get that real estate license and seem to think that business is going to come easily and abundantly to them. And that couldn't be further from the truth of the matter. The reality is it's going to take more work than you think it is. It's going to be harder than you think it is. And it's going to be more worth it than you think it is, as long as you stick with it and don't give up. So let's say that you want to get your first deal closed, or you want to get a certain number of deals closed over the course of your first year. Well, at the beginning of every closed transaction is a conversation that happens. So every single closed transaction, it all starts with a conversation with another human being. And so if you take that simple understanding, that will mean the more conversations you have, the more deals you can potentially close on the back end. And so if you want to close a deal, or let alone a certain number of deals, that just means you have to have enough conversations on the front end for those deals to actually come to fruition. And when you're dealing with people, you've got to understand that selling real estate is not like selling just about anything else you could be selling, because when you're selling real estate, you're helping people with something that they're going to need at some point in time. We're talking about housing. It's one of the essential needs in life. Think about it. We need food, we need water, we need a roof over our head. There's only so many essential needs, and a place to live is one of them. So the good news is most every person you're ever going to speak with at some point in time is going to have a need that relates to real estate. They're either going to need to buy, sell, or invest in real estate at some point in time. But for about 95% of the people you could potentially speak with in your local market area, they're simply not going to be within a decision-making window on the timeline of them having a need that relates to something you can help with. So that time is not going to be when you're talking to them for 95% of the people out there. And so that means that if you want to find someone who you could help now or in the near future, it's going to take talking to a whole lot of people in your local market area, because literally 1 out of 20 people is going to be even near or within a decision-making window of them needing to buy or sell real estate. The other 19 out of 20, it's not even something that is on their radar right now. So the best thing you can do is to have a lot of conversations on the front end. Look for opportunities that you can add value, and then realize that with those 19 out of 20, it's great if you can find the ones who you want to stay in touch with and ultimately build your relationship with them, so that when and if they get to a point where they're within that time window of making a decision to buy, sell, invest real estate, that you're the person they think of and want to come to based on the value you've led with up to that point. So in order to get the outputs that you want, closed transactions, you're going to want to have as many conversations as possible, build as many relationships as possible, and find ways to add value to the people that you're connected with and connecting with over the course of time. And if you fail to do that consistently enough for a long enough period of time, reality is you simply haven't yet given real estate an opportunity to work for you. And that's exactly why most people fell out of the real estate business. They never actually gave it an opportunity to work because they never had enough conversations on the front end and did that consistently enough for long enough to even give it an opportunity to work. So don't make that mistake. Know going into things that your inputs equal your outputs. More conversations lead to more transactions. The second hard truth is that you're going to have to get out of balance for a while. There's a lot of talk about balance, work-life balance, and a lot of people want to get into this industry with that goal in mind. But the reality is that in order to create momentum in this business when you're starting from zero, the biggest opportunity that you're going to have to do that is to get out of balance on the front end. That way you can create that momentum and ultimately work towards achieving more balance on the back end when you actually have clients and business to show for your efforts. Because those who aren't willing to get out of balance on the front end run the risk of not building up enough momentum quickly enough to actually have any true staying power in this industry. Because as much as I can tell you that as long as you are willing to not give up and to keep going no matter what, reality for most people is they have a clock that's ticking and running out of time from the day they get their real estate license and get started. And the more days that pass without them seeing any traction, clients, or deals closing, the less time they have to actually stay and keep going in the industry. So you can persevere out of just sheer grit and determination to keep going no matter what, but it's going to be easier for you to stay in the game if we can create some momentum and get some clients and ultimately get some deals closed sooner rather than later. So regardless of what your schedule is like getting into the business, whether you've got your full time to commit to real estate or whether you're working a full-time 9 to 5 job on top of getting into real estate, what it's going to take is a full-time schedule, commitment, and work ethic that you're applying towards real estate. So you've got to give real estate every hour which you possibly can, and to give your best effort during that time of committed focus, attention, and effort towards moving the needle forward in your real estate business. So if you have a full-time schedule to commit to it, that means you're not just putting in 40 hours a week, that means 40 plus hours a week. Give it everything you've got to moving the needle forward to create as much momentum you can out the gate. And if you're working a full-time 40 hours outside of real estate, well, best case scenario, let's put another 40 hours into real estate to create that momentum. And if for whatever reason that's not a possibility or the reality of what you are able to commit the time to, then take whatever hours you have and make the most of it, whether that's 30 hours, 20 hours, etc. We've got to work with what we've got, but we've got to show up as if this is a full-time commitment, and it's going to get our best energy, focus, attention, and effort during those hours we have, because that's what it's going to take to create the kind of momentum that you'd like for you to even have the option of having a work-life balance. Because guess what? Do you have an option to create that? If you don't have any income coming in real estate, well, it's not going to come from real estate if you don't. So you got to create income and results in real estate for you to even have an option of work-life balance, because otherwise, whatever time you spend on real estate is going to be worthless if you haven't yet created income and revenue from it. So we got to focus on creating an income stream here, creating revenue, and the way we're going to do that is by building a business and building a client base that you have to work with so that you ultimately have people to serve and help. The third hard truth about becoming a real estate agent is you're going to have the ability to go from failure to failure without any lack of enthusiasm. Yes, you heard me right. You are going to fail over and over and over again as you're progressing forward towards your goals in this industry, because quite frankly, you do not know what you do not know as you're getting started in this journey. Hate to break it to you, but pre-licensing did not prepare you for what you need to know on a day-to-day basis going forward. Everything you're going to need to know and learn is going to be from day one on when you're up and running at your real estate brokerage, and you're going to be leaning on that place that you get started with for all the help, support, training, and resources that you need to succeed in your business and life going forward in real estate. So it's inevitable along the way, a lot of the learning that you're going to have isn't going to be classroom learning. No, in fact, most of it's going to be experiential learning. Even if you learn everything you need to know in the classroom, until you've taken that information and applied it in your own life, you don't truly know it on the same level. So a lot of what you are going to learn is just going to be based on you applying what you know how to apply and seeing how it plays out as you go and get that result with it. And so it's inevitable. You're going to have conversations if you're picking up the phone, calling, doing revenue producing activities to make new connections, meet new people. Yeah, you might fall on your face and say the wrong thing. You might feel like you embarrassed yourself, or you might get a question and not know the answer to it. That's all perfectly fine as long as you can go from failure to failure without any lack of enthusiasm. Because for those who stop in their tracks and stop moving forward because they're worried about failure, they're worried about what someone will think or say, or they fell once or twice and then stop because of that, those are the people that ultimately lose and don't keep progressing in this business. But for those who can fail and fall on their face and get back up and then do it again and still get back up and still have enthusiasm and keep going, those are the ones that ultimately succeed and win. And so it's inevitable. See, we can't avoid failure. We can't just not progress forward with it, because even if we're doing everything perfectly in the right way, you're going to face a lot of rejection and challenges along the way. There's simply no going around it. There's no avoiding it. It's a part of the journey we decided to be upon. It's not just business, but even life. You're going to constantly get punched in the face, metaphorically speaking, hopefully not physically speaking, but you're going to get punched in the face by life. And you're going to have to still make decisions that are critical for your business in the process. And some of those punches are going to come from obstacles you're facing as you're going about your business. Others are going to come from your personal life. You're on this journey into real estate, and then you're dealing with some personal issue. It could be health related, it could be family, it could be criticism coming from those who you love and they just don't see or believe in this journey you're on, and you might be hearing that from them. But regardless, you're going to get punched over and over and over again, and you're still going to have to make decisions that are critical to your business and moving forward through those punches. And along the way, you're going to have to solve a lot of problems, especially when you start working with clients, because very seldom does a transaction go off without a hitch. There's usually some sort of challenge or problem that needs to be solved along the way in order to get to the finish line. And a lot of people get worried about these things, or they're all anxious about the problems or potential problems, or trying to avoid the problems. But here's the reality. you're not going to be able to avoid all the problems. It's a part of what we do. So accept the fact that from here on out, if you're going to be in this industry, you are a full-time problem solver and you get paid to solve those problems. That's why the commissions are what they are when we go and earn them. So face it, own it. You're a full-time problem solver. So instead of avoiding these problems or being anxious or worried about them, no, face the problem and go and solve it, because that's what we do. And regardless of the problem, regardless of the circumstance, develop your mental toughness. Anything that you can do to really cultivate it, it's going to help, because we have to have the ability to keep going forward from failure to failure without any lack of enthusiasm, because that's what it's going to take to make it in this business. A lot of people will drop out of the business because they were too worried about failure and didn't take the actions necessary to grow and to develop into who it is they were capable of becoming by being in this incredible business. So don't be one of those. Be someone who has the ability to keep progressing forward no matter what, because that's what those who will make it in this business will ultimately end up doing. So there you have it. That's the hard truth about becoming a real estate agent and ultimately succeeding in this industry. And to summarize it, your inputs equal your outputs. You get out what you put in. You've got to have the willingness to get out of balance for a while on the front end so that you can ultimately have income and revenue coming in and have the option to create balance on the back end. And you've got to have and develop the ability to go from failure to failure without any lack of enthusiasm. And at this point, here's what I'd say. If there is anything I can potentially do to help you now or in the future, go ahead and reach out to me. You'll find my email along with some other helpful resources for you in the description below. And if you got any value whatsoever out of this video, all I'd ask is that you like, comment, and subscribe so that I can continue to share more tips and resources with you on the journey ahead. Thank you so much for watching the video. Until next time, I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.